Have you ever stopped and wondered how your phone just knows where the faces are in a picture? Or how a self-driving car can possibly navigate a chaotic city street? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most incredible fields in AI, computer vision. Let's dive into how we're actually teaching machines to see and make sense of our world. To really get a handle on the challenge here, let's just start with a number: 100,000. That's how many photos get uploaded to Facebook every single minute. It's an absolute flood of visual data, and the whole mission of computer vision is to somehow, someway, make sense of all that chaos. So, what is computer vision really? At its core, it's all about training computers to interpret and understand the visual world, kind of like we do. The goal is to teach them to see a digital image or a video, figure out what's in it, and then do something useful with that information. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the insane scale of the data problem, and then look at how on earth we search through it all. After that, we'll get into how machines learn to understand people and objects in 3D, see how it all comes together in a self-driving car, and then wrap up by asking a really fundamental question about why we even see in the first place. Okay, first up, that deluge of data. You have to understand the sheer volume of pictures and videos being created every single day is the main engine pushing this whole field forward. It's a problem of almost unimaginable scale. I mean, we're talking about tens of billions of images just floating around on the web. And get this, 20 hours of new video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. So the question is, how do you build any system that can even begin to navigate that? And that brings us to our first huge hurdle: searching, right? If you want to find a specific photo, let's say a picture of a golden retriever playing in a park, how do you sift through billions of images without it taking like 100 years? The solution is actually, it's just incredibly clever. Instead of trying to analyze every single pixel and every single image, which would be way too slow, the system creates a kind of compact digital fingerprint for each picture, a simple binary code. Think of it like a superpowered digital card catalog. You don't read the whole book, you just glance at the card. This lets the system find similar images almost instantly just by comparing these little codes. So how do these systems learn to make those fingerprints in the first place? Well, as you can see here, there are basically two main approaches. With supervised learning, you're pretty much giving the machine an answer key. You feed it millions of images that people have already labeled, this is a cat, this is a car, and it learns the patterns. Unsupervised learning is more like throwing it in the deep end. You just give it a giant pile of unlabeled photos and say, figure it out. Find the patterns on your own. Okay, let's crank up the difficulty. It's one thing to find a photo that has a person in it. It is a whole other challenge to understand what that person is doing. And that requires moving beyond a flat 2D image to a full 3D understanding of the world. So to solve this, researchers came up with this brilliant workaround. Instead of trying to photograph people in every single pose you could possibly imagine, which is, impossible, they use motion capture data. Yeah, the same kind of stuff they use for blockbuster movies and video games. And with that, they can generate hundreds of thousands of synthetic, but totally realistic images of people in all sorts of crazy positions. So how does this actually work in a device like the Kinect? Well, it looks at a depth image, one that knows how far away everything is. And for every single pixel, it tries to guess which body part it belongs to. Is it a hand, a foot, an elbow? It uses a super fast classification method to sort all these pixels. Then, once it has a rough map of the body parts, it just connects the dots, calculating the most likely 3D position for all the joints. And boom, you've got a complete digital skeleton, all in real time. Of course, it's not foolproof. The system can definitely get confused by tricky stuff, like when you cross your arms or legs. It gets hard to tell which limb is which. It also has a tough time with really unusual poses that it wasn't trained on, or when parts of your body are hidden from view. And this same kind of thinking, it applies to recognizing objects too. So imagine a 3D scanner just gives you this messy cloud of data points that represent, say, a coffee mug. The system's first job is to find key geometric features in all that chaos. Then, and this is the cool part, each of those little features gets to vote on where it thinks the center of the mug is. By figuring out where all the votes are clustered, the system can make a really good guess about the mug's position, and then snap a perfect 3D model right onto it. And this image just lays it all out perfectly. You can see the whole journey, On the left, you go from the real object to that messy cloud of data. Then the system starts identifying features, tallies up the votes, and finally on the right, it aligns that perfect digital model. It's this powerful pipeline that literally turns chaos into clear, coherent understanding. So, where does all this amazing technology come together? Well, you could argue that the ultimate test for computer vision today is the autonomous vehicle. I mean, it has to perceive, understand, and act in the most complex, unpredictable environment you can imagine. The real world. Just look at this comparison. It's wild. On the left, that's the simple, clean view a human driver sees. But on the right, that's what the car's LiDAR sensor sees. It's this dense, incredibly rich 3D point cloud that's mapping out every single object, its exact distance, and its shape. It's a completely different way of perceiving reality, and in many ways, it's way more detailed than our own. A self-driving car uses a whole suite of sensors to pull this off. It's got stereo cameras for things like lane markings, LiDAR for building that 3D map with lasers, and GPS to know exactly where it is. But the most important part? Redundancy. See, cameras can struggle in the dark, but LiDAR's fine. LiDAR might get confused by heavy rain, but the cameras won't. By having them all work together, the entire system becomes way, way safer and more reliable. And here's a fantastic example of that vision system just nailing it. You can see how it correctly identifies the lane markings on the road, and it even projects them forward, guessing where they are even when they're faded or blocked from view. This is exactly what lets the car stay perfectly centered in its lane mile after mile. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've talked a lot about the how, but what about the why? Why do we, or any machine, even need to see it all? And this brings us to the fundamental purpose of vision. It's all about enabling action. Now, to understand this, we need to talk about this bizarre little creature, the sea squirt. When it's young, it has a simple brain and nervous system, and it swims around looking for a home. But once it finds a nice rock to stick to for the rest of its life, it does something absolutely incredible. It digests its own brain. The lesson here is profound. If you're not going to move anymore, you don't need a brain to process the world. Perception and action are fundamentally linked. This leads to a really key concept called actionable information. Just think about it. When you're driving, you don't really care about the color of every single leaf on every tree you pass. What you care about is the car in front of you, the color of the traffic light, and that cyclist over on your right. Actionable information is all about filtering out all the visual noise and just extracting the bits that you need to do something. And this brings us to a final, absolutely crucial insight. A truly intelligent system can't just be a passive observer, sitting back and letting the world wash over it. No, it has to actively control its sensors by moving its head or its entire body to clear up uncertainty and figure out what's really going on. It's exactly what we do when we lean over to peer around a corner to get a better look. For a machine to truly see, it has to be able to act. Which leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending thought. We've established that vision isn't really for passive observation. It's for doing. So as we build these machines that can see and interpret the world with more and more accuracy, the ultimate question isn't just about what they'll be able to see, it's about what they will choose to do with that incredible ability.